What's going on, everybody? Thank y'all for tuning in. This is the Juice Box Heroes podcast. I'm one of your hosts, PK, going solo tonight. Just want to thank everybody for tuning in, man. Let's talk about this game. Um, just went final, and it was 6-2. A lot of things to unpack here, man. Let's start with Burrows making his Astros debut tonight, and that first inning, I think it was the first pitch of the game. Neto hits one. Had like a 1% chance of being a hit off the wall. And then Trout gets a bloop out to center field. You do get the double play, but the run scores in that first inning. So what I kind of noticed tonight was that the Angels seem to be ambushing Burrows right from the jump. We talked about his performances during the spring training and how, look, we were all pumped about it, right? Like you heard about it on this podcast. You can read about it on X. I mean, the dude was pretty freaking nails, during the spring. So you kind of expected that coming in. I think, when we were all excited to see him have the number two, spot in the rotation. So we expected a lot more things out of him. He just did not look as controlled and as in command as we expected him to be. And I think a lot of it has to do with when, these batters ambush him when he's trying to get ahead in the count early. It kind of just threw him off. And that ended up being right what we saw through his outing tonight. So the Angels get on the board 1-0 on the top of the first. You get into the bottom of the first. Pena's back in the lineup. This is one of the things I didn't quite understand, which was he wasn't available on Thursday to play, but he's available tonight, right? But damn, thank God he was available tonight because he comes in. He ends up going 5 for 2. But he did have a stolen base, but his last two at bats were he had a pop up at the very end. He got a stolen base. Then we had a play at third where Hoppy threw it out into left field. That scores the run that ties the game at one ties the game at one after one. And you're like, okay, cool. Let's settle back down. Burrows can come back out, and we can kind of get this thing going. And then he gets hit with 3 runs in the second inning. And I want to say that Lowe took him yard in that inning, and that was the big output there. So Burrows, man, look, Burrows ends up going. Let me get it here: 5 2/3, 9 hits, 5 earned, 2 walks, and 2 home runs. The Mike Trout home run was a freaking bomb, dude. Oh my god! So he throws a middle in, fastball to Mike Trout. He turns back the clock, turns on it, and he parks it out in the Crawford boxes. So you've got you just got a team that the starting pitching is what we kind of talked about being one of their strengths, especially in the spring. And and I posted on X tonight that what we saw with Burrows was pretty dominant during the spring. However, it's against lesser talent, right? We talked about it also from the Astros standpoint too, right? Where spring training is an opportunity for these young guys to get more at bats, more stuff on tape, for the organization. So I think Burrows will still bounce back. I think he's got the stuff to still, his pitch can play. But this was not the outing that we expected from him. I definitely know that it was not what he was expecting as his debut for the Astros. But he does take the L today. It just didn't look like he recovered from that first inning. And it was a bunch of soft hits, little bloops. But you get guys on base, and then you've got to try to be kind of careful, against those batters you're facing while you have traffic. So Jordan gets his first bomb of the season. Should have been his second one. We all know what happened last night with hitting the rafter out in right field and then going foul. But he did get his bomb off of Kikuchi tonight. So we'll take that run. A lot of throughout the game, I forget what inning it was, and I probably should have wrote it down, but there was an inning. Bryce Matthews, I think he was up with 2 outs, and he gets a double. He gets a double. And I believe Pena came up next, and he gets on. But Jordan hits his ball 113-mile exit velo, right? And this was an inning that Neto made a fantastic play up the middle on Yainer Diaz to get the out. Moncada made a good play at third base, and then you had Peraza. Peraza had two defensive plays in one inning, one up the middle on Pena, right, which kept Bryce from not scoring, but Pena gets on first base, and then you have the 113-mile-an-hour exit velo from Jordan to Peraza's left, which he knocks down. You actually get out the inning, so there's another run. And at that time, you're trailing 4-1. You need that run. So look, it was you're hitting the ball pretty hard. You're hitting the ball right to him. Meanwhile, Anaheim is getting bloop hits, and they're getting a bomb from Trout, and they're getting a bomb from Neto late in the game off of Weiss. Weiss makes his debut tonight, and he gets welcomed. Welcome to the Crawford Box. Welcome to the show by Zach Neto. Zach Neto is slowly turning into one of my most hated players to watch. Just don't like him, right? Not because he's killing us. I just don't like him, right? So, but credit to the Angels, man. They've come into Houston right now. They had some good players from last year. I mean, Joe Adell had a monster season. Zach Neto had a good season. Taylor Ward's now with Baltimore. You had Jose Soriano yesterday owning the Astros. We talked about it last night with his overall record against them, at least their last 3 starts. And, I felt really good about facing Kikuchi tonight. Left-hand pitcher. You haven't Pena back in. I felt like we were going to hit him a lot better. Yiner's up there swinging like he doesn't know what the hell is going on. There's so many things with Yainer. One of the last posts I had was, it really doesn't matter what this new – it feels like it doesn't matter what this new hitting regime from a coaching standpoint is going to teach, because Yainer's just an undisciplined hitter. He's just a free swinger, right? He swings that ass, right? That's all he does. That's all he's been doing. So it was just Walker went 0 for 3, Cam Smith 0 for 4, Paredes 0 for 4. Loperfido comes in the bottom of the 9th, and he's free swinging. You've got Roddery Munoz. let me back up. So the first ABS challenge of the night was from Yainer. It was up. It was very obvious that we're up. It was up, and he does the challenge. He loses, right? So you're down to one challenge. And then you got Roddery Munoz, who was on a ball 4. The ball was clearly low. He challenges it. He loses. Now you're out of challenges, which ends up coming to kick you in the ass later in the later innings, 7th, 8th inning, because you have Altuve up, who strikes out looking on an outside pitch, which I think when you look back at the pitch, it does hit the plate, or it does hit the corner, so you would lose that challenge. But the point of that is that there was Altuve and I think Paredes maybe that had the opportunity to challenge a ball 4 pitch, but you couldn't because you were 0 for 2 on your challenges. Now, I know Espada he's mentioned not liking the pitchers to, call for the challenges. Roddery Munoz, doesn't need to be calling the ABS. Doesn't need to be calling it. The ball was low, right? And Yainer, for that fact, the dude doesn't know what a strike is at the plate. How in the hell is he going to know what a strike is behind the plate when he's trying to get an ABS challenge? Really trying not to freak out right now on the fact that we're 0-2. I said it last night. It was game 1 of 162, and now it's game 2 of 162. We got 160 left. But you want to get that. You want to get that win on the board, right? You want to, because it feels like this team is going to struggle the whole season just based on these 2 games. But we all know that we've got 6 months of baseball, 5 months of this baseball. The Astros. If you want to look at the silver lining, we all know they start out slow. We've been Astros fans for long enough. We've seen it. We've gone through it. But I think there was a lot of expectations coming in this year that this was not going to be, one of those seasons where we started off slow. You were really excited about your pitching. Hunter Brown only went 4 2/3 because he was a little bit out of command last night. Ryan Weiss, Burrows ends up going 5 2/3, and I was actually kind of surprised that Espada sent him back out in the 6th inning. I figured just, with the amount of pitches he had, which wasn't approaching 90, but he clearly didn't have his stuff, and you were still kind of in the game at that point. But you also went through your bullpen, last night because Hunter Brown could only go 4 2/3. So you're running through your bullpen already. I mean, you had Brian King and Munoz, Okert, and Weiss was tonight, right? So you've gone through your bullpen really in 2 games already. You still got 2 more games to go. Tomorrow you get Christian Javier. I think it's Detmers. I think is the pitcher for Anaheim. Hopefully you can get the split on this series. You got a big series starting on Tuesday with Boston. It's the hitting, man. The timely freaking hitting. I mean, we turned on a lot of inside pitches. Cam Smith almost went yard late in the game. I mean, that was a foot from being I think a 1-run game at that point, right? Maybe tied it up, but you really weren't doing anything. Carlos Correa, someone posted on X that they were disappointed in Carlos, and I'm like, dude, this guy was, prior to his third at bat, he was 2 for 2, 2 singles, right? I mean, we know how he finished last season with us. He had 290 over the last 53 games. Hit 6 home runs in those 53 games. He had only hit 7, I think, in like 90 something with not 90 something. We know with Minnesota early in that season. So with Carlos Correa, like I posted it and I said, like, look, the big numbers for Correa, or the big power numbers that we expect, or power numbers for him, like they're probably not going to be there. He's more of a, you're seeing the type of hitter he is. He went oppo tonight on his singles. He's turning into like a legit hitter. Okay, the ball's outside. I'm gonna go to the right side. Right, I'm gonna move the runners around. So, look, Jordan hit the ball hard tonight. I mean, he hit the ball hard. He struck out. I think he struck out once in a pretty good situation where we needed him to come through. We're just not getting the bats on the ball when we need them. We hit a lot of hard balls tonight, but they were going right to him. Anaheim was getting some of the breaks, some of the bloops, and you're just giving up home runs, man. Like this pitching is not. It's not what we expected coming out of spring, right? So you got to buckle up and get going. We need Javier to go deep tomorrow. 6 innings would be great. 7 would be even better, right? You have to give this bullpen a little bit of a break because, like I said, you threw King and you threw Roa last night. Just that's off the top of my head. I know I'm missing another one. Oh, blue ball last night. You had 3 more pitchers go tonight, right? It's like Abreu hasn't pitched, but that's kind of about it. But damn, not a good way to start the season, man. Like I really didn't think that we would be down 0-2 to these guys. I don't really know what I honestly thought what the record would be after 2 games, but I didn't expect it to be the way that it's gone down the way it has. I mean, you get shut out yesterday. You kind of hang around for a couple of innings in this game, and then you're not really threatening the rest of the game. So Walker, like I said, over 3. Cam over 4, 2 Ks. Parade's over 4, 2 Ks. Just not consistent, man. Not consistent at bats. I think Bryce looked pretty good at the plate. I mean, there was a couple pitches that he could have turned on, I feel like, but he just a little bit indecisive on his plate approach. But like having Pena back in that lineup, he instantly is a catalyst at the top of the lineup, right? Like we know that he can turn these infield ground balls into hits, into singles. We know that as soon as he gets on the base pass, that he's got the speed to go take bases. Ohapi made 2 throwing errors today. One I talked about a minute ago. One at third base to let Pena score, and then later on in the game when Altuve was on the move, he threw it out to center field, and Altuve got to move to third. But we stranded him there, and in typical Crawford Chronicles in typical Crawford Chronicles episodes. And since Chris isn't here, I will let you know that the Astros went 1 for 7 and runners in scoring position. Can't win. I mean, look, but even the Angels went 2 for 15. The thing was they had 3 bombs, 3-run shot, and a couple solos. The Zach Neto bomb at the end of the game was just the icing on the cake. I mean, that made it 6-2. Man, I don't know. We got a lot more games to go. Try not to freak out, but But that's gonna wrap this up, man. We'll be back on Chris and Bryles will be back tomorrow. And for the record, Bryles, Sweet Bee Bones, you are now banned from going to the Astros games. He has been last night and he was there tonight, and they have both lost. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We're gonna be doing this after every single game. Tomorrow, like I said, will be Chris and Bryles going in. So let's see what we got over here. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about here, man. Like it's early, and I'm trying not to freak out on it, But damn, it's early. That's all I can say. It's early. We got a lot more games to go, but it is. It could be painful. It could end up being painful. I mean, I went 90 and 72 for the predictions, and I think Bryles went 93. I think he went 93 wins, and I think Chris went 90 also. The line's 86.5. I've seen some guys on X and they're going under the 86.5. I've seen several that are around 88. Like I said, dude, it's super early. I'm trying not to freak out right now, but damn, these guys are making it pretty difficult to not lose my shit on it. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in for this quick little recap. Like I said, we're going to be doing this every single game, after every single game. And Chris and Bryles will be back on tomorrow. Thank y'all for tuning in. Y'all have a good night. This is man, almost now. This is the Crawford Chronicles. We'll talk about tomorrow.